आज का संगीत आनंद वर्धन का, आवाज मनीषा की और बोल हमारे सब्सक्राइबर्स के. The centerpiece for me is voter denying people voting. That is the centerpiece of this, and without that being the big elephant in the room, to discuss this as analysis as usual, I think is bizarre. I think it's dishonest.
For me, SIR became such a blinding thing that I was actually not even interested in knowing what people's problems are, which should not be the case for journalists. But when you saw 26 lakh people excluded out of the SIR, you went to tribunals, which was such a joke.
Too much live news, live coverage which has to be done, which makes it very difficult for you to take some time, look at the constituency you're going to, look at the data, look at the numbers, stratify how you're going to go and visit and see, right? And that makes it very important for you to immediately make a judgment as a reporter on the ground. As Manisha said, that BJP is going to win in 2021, she felt, right? As a reporter, you have to give it now. You don't have the luxury of saying, okay, let me look at the numbers here.
The most defining aspect of Indian political mobilization right now is to redecide or reframe the categories of mobilization. You refer to 2019 election when in UP, Samajwadi Party and the BSP suddenly announced an alliance. So the traditional wisdom of Indian political analysis is that, okay, what is it called? The opposition unity index or something. If you have two parties joined together, you just add up their percentages, and then the alliance is supposed to get the combined percentage of those parties. That's not how it turned up, because in Uttar Pradesh, new categories were in place, which is primarily, put in the crudest term, the Hindu-Muslim.
Generally, people who do surveys less, but surveyors are also vulnerable to that, and journalists fall for over-articulation of voters. Like when you ask somebody, he may be saying much more than what he actually believes or how he actually will behave as a voter, because he is not going to have a checklist on this infrastructure, I will vote for this, on communal politics, I will vote for this, or on school education, I will vote for this. He has a single vote, so voting is a single act. So the overwhelming factor will decide his vote.
BJP actually didn't have a very great mass leader in West Bengal. I think Dilip Ghosh maybe came closest to it. But look at the last two elections. It's just Modi versus Mamta. So how can Mamta win versus Modi? The fact that she withstood for so long is like itself.
Yeah.
So
I
just feel like
this discussion is so warped. I mean, we are being boiled. It's like those frogs being boiled in hot water, and we think this is normal. अंग्रेज अपना लगान और न्यूज लॉन्ड्री अपना हफ्ता कभी नहीं छोड़ते. Welcome to News Laundry Hafta. We are recording this one day after Gurudev Rabindranath Tagore's birth anniversary, although I have been trying to search why his birthday, as per records, is 7th of May, yet it's celebrated on the 9th.
Because it's a Bengali calendar.
Which is different from a Punjabi calendar?
No, which is different from the English Gregorian calendar that we mark our birthdays on.
So is it the Bengali calendar or is it the Hindu calendar?
I don't know if there's a difference between Bengali and Hindu calendar.
The Bengalis, I'm sure, will tell us. If Rajshri was here, she would have said that Bengali means Hindu, Bengali means the word, Bengali means everything. But on this week, which is Gurudev Rabindranath Tagore's birthday, and it's also Press Freedom Month, it's actually Press Freedom Day.
And Mother's Day, let me add again.
Yes, last time she had added Mother's Day.
10th of May is Mother's Day.
So we have a special
campaign.
It's the
mother of all celebrations.
Which is
Press
what?
Freedom, Tagore and Mother's Day.
So it's the mother of all celebrations. So we have a small message for you. Please be patient and listen to the whole thing carefully.
A great man once said,
"Where the mind is without fear and the head is held high."
Well, we heard him.
That's why News Laundry
and the News Minute exist.
Where knowledge is free.
But you've got to pay for news.
And if you have access to free knowledge, you should have the wisdom to know that you have to pay to keep news free.
So that the mind can be without fear.
So words can come out from the depth of truth.
And we can tirelessly strive to bring you the facts.
Where the mind is led forward by thee.
our subscribers.
into ever widening thought and action. Into that heaven of freedom, my father, let my country awake.
Let us remain true to Gurudev's words on his birthday. Let your mind be without fear, and you keep our head held high.
So I do hope you will contribute, get us 1,000 more subscribers this month so that we can make up for the shortfall like I told you last year, a 1.8% drop in subscribers. We will have 2 guests joining us later in the show. But before I tell you who they are, let me introduce the ones who are already in the studio. Manisha Pande, welcome Manisha. And Anand Vardhan.
Hello.
This whole narrative, I've heard it a lot of time. The sense people get when on the ground, what does that really mean? Is it a quantifiable metric? Because different people get different senses on the ground. And generally, post that, when you've seen it being discussed on issues like governance, on law and order, without taking voter denial and voter deletion as a centerpiece of this analysis, you think that's fair or it's politics as usual?
And I've said this in the previous hafta also, but there was such an identity crisis in the state that to me, none of the issues mattered. So maybe our focus was entirely on SIR. In fact, most of News Laundry reporting was focused on SIR. We did have people say the usual things that they were also saying in 2021, that corruption hai, jobs nahi hai, whatever. But I think maybe the one thing that we tend to correlate as journalists is issues and results. Just because a result goes a certain way doesn't mean those issues or that society ceases to exist in the way that it was. So Haryana, if BJP wins, doesn't mean there's no joblessness or people weren't unhappy.
Analysis around Bengal as if it is issues like Manisha said, whereas the big voter denial being key to every discussion, or ED, or is this how an election should be, is, not even spotlit. Do you think that's a problem, or that is the ether we swim in and have always swum in?
I've written it on Twitter. I don't think that caused Mamata Banerjee's defeat. Maybe 20 seats, possible. Maybe she would have gone to 110, possible. But would she have come back to power? Would Trinamool have come back to power? I think there is no question that she would have. There's no doubt that she lost because of certain kinds of things coming together. As Manisha was saying, communal sentiment in Bengal has always been there. It is one of those early places where communal riots took place, right? One tends to forget that Bengal is one of the places where the Hindus wanted partition. They wanted partition to take place because undivided Bengal was always going to be a Muslim majority state. Right? That is why Hindus wanted partition. Yes, how it happened, what happened, which parts came to India, which parts didn't, is a separate issue altogether. But Bengal has always been communal. There is a sense in which it got hidden by, many, many years of left front government, which was in a lot of ways irreligious.
Who are the people? Who are the legitimate people? So, and how you divide the legitimate people from the illegitimate, whatever you call them. This is been the history of how we define our nationhood, and that conflict is ongoing for many decades and maybe a century. Now, SIR, or the Citizenship Amendment Act, was converting into official policy the politics of new categories, drawing new boundaries of what is legitimate and what is not legitimate. And that, by the way, is a paradox of how we define citizenship. We say, okay, people elect the government. That is how democracy is supposed to function. But who are the members of that collective called the people? Now, if you have to get an Indian passport, that is defined by the lowest level of the state machinery. A constable will come to your home and verify certain things, and then goes back into that loop and decide whether you actually are part of the people or not. So it's a paradox that it's very difficult to resolve.
On the post-election analysis, how do you think it enriches the viewers? Of course, I think theories should be put out so one can figure out what could be the possible, indicators of how outcomes can be predicted. But I just find that if one set of reasons apply in one state, you should be able to pick those up and say, okay, they should also apply in the other state, but somehow they don't. So then what value is such discussions or analysis anyway?
The third point is the Hindu consolidation factor. I think BJP, besides Hindu consolidation, BJP's focus, and for that matter to break the stronghold of any incumbent, is to be in a pole position to harness anti-incumbency that is accumulating. If you are in a very strong position to harness the incumbency of the incumbent, then you will, as at some point in the election cycle, 5 years, 10 years, will benefit from that. And BJP's focus was to be in that pole position by hook or crook, how say. And this Hindu consolidation factor has been there. It was, as I said, that the institutional left in from say 60s onwards, and before that, because we must not forget that the political predecessor of BJP, the Bharatiya Jansangh, its founder Shyama Prasad Mukherjee, who founded Bharatiya Jansangh in 1951, his chief grievance against the Nehru government was the treatment given to the Hindu refugees coming from East Bengal.
What has happened this time because of Mamta's repression from 2011? A lot of people actually became silent. During the left front's period, people were very vocal, by the way. Calcutta, before the coming of Buddhadev Bhattacharya, left front couldn't win Calcutta seats. It always lost Calcutta seats. Never won. It was very vocal, feeling the Chhatra Parishad was pretty strong, which is the Congress party's entity. It's now that suddenly, there's also another thing. Mamta Banerjee had to bring in, because in a lot of ways she was a single leader party, right? So if you look at her ministers, they were actors, singers, right? Small time, something or the other, TV serial people who were made into ministers or leaders. Now, these are not people who have been, who have risen from the ground for years. They were suddenly brought in. They're the glamorous people. Even in parliament, the people who speak for the TMC are not politicians, right?
Specifically in your state, it's almost the, pre-climax scene of a comedy film where the gun shifts like an andaz apna from the villain's hand to the hero's hand, and suddenly everyone in the villain's gang says, "मैं तो हमेशा आपकी साइड ही था, मुझे तो ये पसंद भी नहीं, अमरीश पुरी." That suddenly the gun shifts again to the villain's hand. मैं तो इसको जानता भी नहीं है. I'm blown away by these dudes, and it is somehow very unique to Bengal. Why is it? What is it in Bengal that the ink on the paper is not even dry? And these guys said, for 5 years I've been wanting to work, but Mamta didn't.
I think that one of the things that we have grown up through, I mean, I'm 54. Most of my life, I have seen coalition governments till 2014. I think coalition governments are a situation where the executive is weak enough for other branches of the state to have some authority and power. Since 2014, we are back in a situation where the executive is so strong that it can completely control lawmaking, it can completely control other things, and as you pointed out, huge amounts of control of institutions by oligarchs, by money power.
Right.
There is a very clear coordination that's taking place now, in which people have virtually no way to find anything, any recourse to anything. If you say something, you can be picked up.
बस मुफ्त में इतना ही मिलेगा. For the full uncut podcast, subscribe to News Laundry and pay to keep news free. The best way to listen to The Hafta and indeed all our podcasts is through the News Laundry app. You can download the app by clicking on the links given in the show notes. So do download our app and get the best podcast experience. And also pay for news and support a new news media ecosystem that News Laundry is trying to encourage, where we are accountable to you because we run on contributions that you make. We don't take government ads, we don't take corporations ads, so that news serves the public. Because when the public pays, the public is served. Subscribe to News Laundry, click on the link in the show notes below, and proudly say, I pay to keep news free.